These light southwest winds. Partly to mostly cloudy overnight in the low 40s. Chance of rain showers Sunday and Sunday night, mostly cloudy. The high Sunday near 50, about 35 Sunday night. Monday should be partly sunny in the mid to upper 40s. Jonesboro, that's your KLEK 102.5 FM weather.
It's 12:01.
KLEK LP Jonesboro, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council. It's now time for our Thoughts on the Matter, a program offering opinions from all sides of the issues concerning local, state, and national topics of importance to the Jonesboro community. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority Advocacy Council, or our underwriters, donors, or sponsors.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our Thoughts on the Matter. I'm your moderator today, Quabila Jones, and along with me is Mrs. Amanda Donovan.
Afternoon.
And our crew is a little short today, but we're going to keep it rolling anyway.
That's right.
All right, our topic today is kind of broad. It's gun control or gun violence, and let me please state from the beginning, this is not about trying to take anyone's guns away, infringe on anyone's rights. This is not that type of discussion. We're simply discussing possible ways to get more control over the guns that are already on the streets. How can we get guns in more responsible people's hands and out of irresponsible people's hands, things of that nature. What can be done? Can the U.S. create and enforce new law? Should they, rather? Or should they reform the ones that are already on the books? What steps can be taken? So if anyone has any questions, any comments, please feel free to drop them in our Facebook live feed, or you can call us in the studio, 870-277-1080. All right, so I want to start out by reading the Second Amendment. It says, the Second Amendment to the United States Constitution protects the right of the people to keep and bear arms and was adopted on December 15, 1791 as part of the Bill of Rights. The Supreme Court ruled in 2008 that the rights belong to individuals in their homes for self-defense, while also ruling that the rights are not limited and does not preclude the existence of certain long-standing prohibitions, such as those forbidding the possession of firearms by felons and the mentally ill, or restrictions on the carrying of dangerous and unusual weapons. Okay, so we know that everyone has a right to bear arms. In some cases, when someone has been deemed mentally ill, and I have done some research on this, their right or privilege has been revoked. Mm-hmm. However, when speaking with law enforcement, they already have a lot to do, so they can't go to every single person's home and say, okay, your rights have been revoked, you need to give up your guns. They have to have a reasonable doubt. They have to have a reason to go to that person's house, or a warrant.
Well, if the person's on probation, the probate officer can come in at any time that they feel need to check. I mean, being a felon, if you get caught with a gun, the sentence, I believe, is a year max.
Okay.
And hang on, let me double check this so I'm quoting right. But ways we can talk about it. How about the people's family that they live with? They know this felon does not need to be around a weapon, so try to keep it away from them. Now, once a felon has gotten through the procedures, went through the sealed and expungement, became an upright citizen, and is a non-violent person, they can actually take steps towards a pardon in order to get their gun rights back as well. So, I mean, it's about a 17-20 year process, but you can still get your gun rights back, just like you can your voters' rights.
Okay, well, I think when I was putting this topic together, my thought is that we could have an open discussion on what can be done going forward. We have seen too many mass shootings, and many of those individuals have been deemed to have a mental illness or something going on with them.
When my question is, why aren't our background checks up to date?
Yeah.
I believe in your right to bear arms, but you need to be an upstanding citizen. And I'm a survivor of gun violence myself.
Okay.
And I do carry. You know, I do. I ain't gonna lie. But, and people think, well, I have a gun, so I can shoot somebody. You know, I'm feeling threatened. No, there is statutes that you got to be with 100% without a doubt. You know, because you still can go to jail for manslaughter and homicide because you pulled your gun and shot somebody out of the blue when you could have got away. You know, there's a lot of regulations when it comes to that. But from what my research and looking at mass shootings and stuff, there has been a lot of them due to the background checks not placing the adequate information. Even our U.S. military, you know, failed to docket on one of the mass shooters. Wow. That he actually had been mentally discharged, and it wasn't put on his background check. And there was one guy I read on here that participated in a mass shooting that only reason why he got it is because by default, after 3 days, you automatically pass your background check, and that was according to justfacts.org.
So maybe there should be some stronger regulations put in place when it comes to the background check that is being done. Now we know people can get their hands on guns. Again, this is through a conversation with law enforcement. People can get their hands on guns through private sales, gun shows, and things of that nature. Again, should there be more regulation? Should there be a longer wait time? Should the same practices be put in place for those that are applying for a gun license from anywhere else? Should they have to go through the same steps, the same process?
Well, as of right now, if you go to a pawn shop here in town and go and try to purchase a weapon, what you'll do, you know, obviously you'll pick your weapon out, and then you'll fill out a Arkansas background check, and then they run it through the system, and whether you pass, fail, or not, it can take up to 2 weeks. But most of the time, you know, within a couple hours whether or not you've been accepted or not.
Okay.
And if there has been a problem, I've seen people who have went and got denied as well. It wasn't just passed. But there's a lot of faults in our system, and the people who hadn't taken the means to put these places, you know, like the one guy I was talking about, he got discharged from the U.S. military under dishonorable and mental stuff. And, you know, that should have been on his background check. My question is, why ain't these people being accounted for? Because it has to be put on their background check that they have went through this sort of kind of stuff before. My question is, the people that's overseeing, why ain't they doing the overseeing? And why ain't the information there for when they do go and do a background check? Now, a lot of people get their guns from family members as well. You know, through inheritance or, you know, daddy, you know, I don't really have the funds, but, you know, I live on the shady side of town. Can I borrow your pistol until I get one, sort of kind of thing? I've seen that happen. I'm not going to say I haven't, because I have. But, you know, they've never pulled their weapon or nothing, and their parents got their gun back, of course. But, you know, that a lot of that goes on, and, you know, a lot going on with the black market, the illegal market. We, the community, when we start seeing these kind of things, need to come together and report those to the authorities. You know, JPD, Craighead County Sheriff's Department, the ATF, the DEA. You know, if illegal activity, and that means most certainly needs to be reported. You need to step up.
That's right. We, the citizens, need to take control of our community. We have a comment from Mr. Mark Pillow. He says, about time we discuss this out loud. Well, Mr. Mark, if you have any comments to add to the discussion, please feel free to contribute, share this video so others can join in the discussion. We want to hear everyone's point of view. Again, this is not to try to take away, you know, this is not a discussion to say we won't take away people's gun rights. No,
right.
That is not it.
We're looking for a solution to this problem.
Yes, we've seen too many senseless deaths in our country, and there are other countries that have different gun laws, and they have very reduced numbers of crimes linked to guns. And I found this article. This was back from February, and I'm sure there's some more updated information since this article came out. But countries like Australia, it says a spat of violence in the 1980s and 90s that culminated in the 96 shooting that left 35 dead, led Australian Prime Minister John Howard to convene an assembly to devise gun control strategies. The group landed on a massive buyback program costing hundreds of millions of dollars, offset by a one-time tax increase that bought and destroyed more than 600,000 automatic and semi-automatic weapons and pump-action shotguns. Over the next few years, gun death totals were cut nearly in half. Firearm suicides dropped to 0.8% per 100,000 people in 2006 and 2.2 in 95. Long story short, there are other countries doing things. I know that Jonesboro has had a buyback program. I think some people are afraid, if I take this gun, they're going to try to run my name, or I'm going to get in trouble anyway. So some people are skeptical, or maybe those who are really criminals, they're not trying to give up their gun.
Right. And that's what makes them a criminal. You know, us, the law-abiding citizen who tries to obey the law and not break the law, we're going to be the ones to come up and say, here, officer, here's my gun. Yes, I'm going to return it and give it to you and get my money. Whereas the criminal, they might be kind of, no, I ain't going to do that.
Yes.
I don't care what the law says. I ain't going to do it.
Okay. Mr. Mark says, step 1, enforce the laws on the books. That's
yes.
Good. I was thinking, look at what we already have on the books and find ways to really implement those to the best of the ability of the law enforcement, those that are put in place to handle criminals and handle those that own guns. Enforce those laws.
Majority of the time, it's easier to amend than it is to remove and renew.
Okay.
And when it comes to legislation, depending on what the topic is and all how much, the majority and all that good stuff, but majority of the time it's easier to amend the law than it is to write another one.
Okay. Now, do you think another issue, and we hear these discussions, especially when it comes to the political season and when people are running for various offices, we hear that this person, that person is bought out by another organization and whatnot. Do you feel that there's too much of that going on, that people that are running for, say, a particular office, they don't want to upset their supporters, and instead of doing what's right, they lean toward the money or toward
I understand what you're talking about. And, that in itself is a passion for me. I hate political figures like that. You as a politician, you as a government employee, you work for the people. Your idea is not your idea. You work for the people. It's not what you want. It's what the people want. I don't care how much these political action committees pay you. You are selling your soul to the devil if you're turning your back on your people. Now, when it comes to stuff like that, I believe we need more transparency. We need to know where the money is going. We need to know where these people support, where they're getting their money, what their supporters support, and hold our politicians accountable.
And all this goes back to voter education.
Amen.
Get to know who is running for what office, what that position entails. Look who is supporting them, and follow the money. So we as the citizens of this country have a responsibility to not take everything at face value. I'm sure each state has their list of laws and regulations somewhere on some type of state website. So you have the right to go look up those laws that are on the books, and you have a right to contact your congressman, your representatives, your legislators, and have a discussion with them. It may take you several times to reach them, but we, the people, have rights.
Right.
And so we need to start exercising our rights and stop letting other people make decisions for us.
Right.
Especially when we elect certain people to be in a position, they work for us, like Amanda said. Mr. Mark says, a functioning republic requires an educated electorate capable of debating civility. All right, Mr. Mark, with all these words.
Yeah, no. You can see how our conversations are. You got to bring the thesaurus out in the dictionary. But anyways, I love you, Mark. I'm teasing you. I'm kind of glad he is like that, because it keeps me up on my game and keeps me up with all these big words versus the little kid words, Okay. When you have 3 kids, it kind of gets back to My Little Ponies. But, we have to be educated. If you're not educated, you're just a blind sheep following the other blind sheep. That's just all it is to it.
That's right. I want to say good morning to Mr. Shadrack Turner, and Mr. Mark says again, Act 746 is the master document in Arkansas on 2A issues.
Yes.
So, since we live in Arkansas, we know that you can go to arkansas.gov or Arkansas something, and
we actually have a web page, the Act 746 Patriots, Act 746.
Okay.
I am actually a member of. That is for our constitutional right to carry.
Okay.
And it has,
Arkansas, okay.
and it's also listed under the Arkansas laws.
Okay, it says Act 746 allows for concealed carry without permit.
Yes.
Shall issue. The Arkansas State Police issue and recognize the Arkansas Concealed Handgun Carry License, as do states that have existing reciprocity with Arkansas. Now, talk about the carrying without a permit.
Okay. Anybody who is able to purchase a weapon here in the state of Arkansas, as long as they pass background check, can carry a weapon.
Okay.
So it does not matter if it's a gun, knife, ball bat. That's just how it is.
Okay. Now, what about having a license?
Now, you can still get your concealed to carry. A lot of people still do that. And you can also get an extended concealed to carry, which is an advanced. You have to pay extra for, but that allows you to carry into schools and government buildings. Now, with Act 746, you cannot if there's a sign on the door that says no guns, you can't bring it in there.
Okay.
And with the concealed to carry, you have to carry it 24/7, and it has to stay concealed 24/7.
Now, with that, and again, this is new to me. Thank you for bringing it up, Mr. Mark and Amanda. Okay. Mark says, let's see, make sure I get it. It adds to people's sense of frustration if they did not get a basic education in civics. They can't know their own right, much less the rights of others. Okay, we do need to learn what our rights are, what others' rights are, and respect other people's rights at the same time.
And that's, as a politician, you should. Some people say, well, they should be for one side or the other. What they should do is listen to the majority, but also protect the minority. That's not that hard to do, but it sounds hard to do, but it really ain't that hard to do when you can sit down and have an adult discussion like we are right now in a civil, calm, peaceful manner and discuss the matters out and see what we can get to versus I just lost what I was saying.
Okay. All right. We should have had Mr. Mark in the studio. He's given us a lot of information here. He says, per the recent Taft decision, merely possessing a weapon is not proof of intent to commit a crime. Okay. So again, there's a lot of education. There's a lot of information out there for us to educate ourselves on.
And we also need to be looking not just at the information, but unbiased information and statistics. See, I've been researching this for a week now since we talked about this topic, looking at statistic numbers, looking at different states. What I've come across with all the statistics and the data is that I've seen statistics that they were using on the New York Post, and if I can find, I'll link it to you. But it was from like 1972. Today is 2018. Why are we using information from 1972?
But then since you brought that up, the Constitution was written back in the 1700s.
Well, that's true, and we're still using it.
Should there be some amendment, some adjustment, I should say, to the Constitution, or make it fit today's time? Because I'm sure the weaponry used then is nothing like the weaponry that is used now.
It is, in basic sense, it is. In some things, it's not. Some things have gotten a little bit overboard, but I myself cannot say that because I've owned AK-47s, I've owned SKSs. It's not the gun, in my opinion. It's the person. Okay. And when you have been a survivor of gun violence, you can say it's not the gun, it's the person, because that person, when they look at you, I have had a gun pulled on me more times than I can count on both hands. Okay. Between domestic violence, PTSD from certain members of my family coming home from the U.S. military, just different things. but you can look in their face and just see the cold. Like Andrew Mitch Johnson, we're talking about mass shootings. A lot of these people, they knew ahead of time that they were doing it, and they didn't do anything to stop it. Now, I can contest to Andrew and Mitch because I knew both of them.
Okay.
And me and a few other people I do know, and it's duly noted somewhere in some paperwork that these students coming up and telling the school systems, hey, there's something wrong with these two. But nobody listens. Sort of kind of like bullies. Sometimes the school systems just turns a bad eye to it.
Yes, we've seen in other articles where students made reports to authorities of school officials saying that this student exhibits this behavior, or this student has said this about what they're going to do, and because the schools or the community didn't want to label that child
right
in a certain way, like you said, they turned their back and they turned,
Q, not even a year ago. I know this personally. I can't mention his name because he's a juvenile, but he. Oh, we got a few minutes.
Yeah.
It just went. Okay. He about a year ago, he wrote a nasty little letter to a girl for the next period class and brought a weapon to school to cut her with. He was making, they knew that ahead of time, and he wasn't expelled from school. He wasn't even sent off anywhere.
We're going to pick that back up when we come back from our break. You're tuned in to Our Thoughts on the Matter, and we'll be right back after these announcements.
You're listening to Our Thoughts on the Matter on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Jen with your KLEK Learn Spanish Minute. Okay, we've got more travel talk here, and we've got Puedo ver la carta?
Puedo ver la carta?
Yes, and that means, can I see the menu?
Okay, so that means, can I see the menu?
Yes,
so
it does.
Say it one more time.
Puedo ver la carta?
Puedo ver la caca? Hey, work with me now.
Caca means poo
Caca,
in Spanish.
caca means poo in
It means
Spanish?
poo. It means something worse than poo, but that's all I can say on here. Good one.
Let's go to the outro on this one.
Okay. I'm Jen, and that was your Learn Spanish Minute on KLEK 102.5 FM.
Support for KLEK is brought to you by
Fullness of Joy Ministries, 2120 Thorn Street, Jonesboro, under the direction of Bishop Adrian Rogers and co-pastor Susan Rogers. www.fjministries.org.
And now back to Our Thoughts on the Matter on KLEK 102.5 FM.
All right, welcome back to Our Thoughts on the Matter with Quabila Jones and Amanda Donovan. We were hoping to have more of our panel here, but things come up, and that's okay. We're going to keep it rolling. So Amanda was mentioning before we went to break how there was an awareness of a situation that pretty much got overlooked or brushed to the side, and it could have led to something more serious. Right. And in this case, did someone intervene though?
Right. The school system did intervene
Okay.
a little bit afterwards, but that's not his first rodeo doing that sort of kind of thing.
Okay.
And he's got a long-standing history that's currently being dealt with as of the moment, but it's just one of those things, it started out something petty and then it led to something that could have got a little girl's neck cut off, so
Well, then let's switch gears and talk about the juvenile aspect of this. With some of the school shooting, with these school shootings, there were juveniles that were involved.
Yes.
What can be done to counteract, cut these off before it starts? I remember let's talk about the Parkland shooting. When that happened, there were reports that came out that students knew this person was troubled.
Mm-hmm.
The administrators had heard stories of this person being troubled, students making reports, but they just kind of brushed it off. And in many cases, that is the case. Oh, it's okay. They're okay. They're just a little troubled.
Mm-hmm.
When does it become enough of an alarm alert? When do we become
And
alarmed enough?
the way I treat it, with about 120 people living at our trailer park, and just hear me out.
Okay.
If more than one person comes and tells me that we have a problem, but when it's most certainly more than 5 come and tell me we have a problem, then we address the issue and find out what the problem is. We should not have, 20, 30 students coming to you every other day telling you that there's a problem with this one kid and we don't know what the problem is. It's not just the school system, it's the parents too. Me, as a parent, is responsible for my children until they hit the age of 18, and then, it's on them. But me as a parent, you wonder, did you fail your child? Well, sometimes yes, and most of the time no. That's just their decision. They knew better, but they chose to do something different. But we all need to be accountable for our friends and our family, our school districts. If a family member that's having problems and talked about, blowing their wife's head off, you might want to come to that person and say, hey, we don't need to be doing this. We need to see what's the problem. Do you need help? And things of that nature. And if it gets too rough, be the tough one, be the strong one, be the brave one, and speak up.
Okay.
And if you can't let your voice be heard, there's other channels.
All right, and this question goes for whether it's adult involved or juvenile involved. When someone uses a gun that does not belong to them, should the person that owned the gun previously also face charges or fines or, get in trouble as well? Are there laws on the books for that? Should they be enforced more? Should we just get stricter? Where do we draw the line? Where do we start sending the message? How do we start sending the message that something has to give? Nobody should lose their life to senseless gun violence. I know we can't control every single person, every single city, every single state. However, I think if the message gets out there more and more people start facing charges, hopefully, and this is me and my optimistic bubble, that hopefully things will start to change.
Right. Let's see here. There is states and there is laws when 100% without a doubt, when you sell a weapon to somebody that there is limitations and statutes that you can be arrested for, and that's federal law on that background check.
Okay. All right. Mr. Mark Pillow says, do let guidance and rules. I guess it don't let guidance and rules override good sense. See something, say something.
Amen.
It is the same as leaving a bear trap in the woods. You are still responsible for it, and prosecutors need to use their discretion to deal with these.
Yes.
All right. Thank you for joining us, Brother Bernard. You want to jump in and give your thoughts on this matter?
No, I don't want to give my thoughts on
Oh, wait a minute. What mic is that? 3. Okay, go ahead.
I don't want to give my thoughts on this matter just yet. I come to mess with Amanda. What kind of life was you living that you had so many guns pulled on you you can't remember?
Well,
Lord,
one was PTSD.
I don't want to know.
I can. I'm not ashamed of it. It is what it is. When you have been a landlord, you were born into it.
Okay.
People think you have a lot of money. They try to rob you.
Okay.
And that's one. We have been very blessed. There's only been a handful of times I've had to pull my weapon out and put it in somebody's face, and they get walking.
But see, that's one thing. I never had a gun in my shop, but I was held up a couple times by gunpoint, and a lot of people told me, well, you need to get a gun. You need to get a gun. So I posted on Facebook. I had a picture on my cabinet with a gun. I mean, a real gun was there, and everybody texted me and said, about time you got a gun. I said, well, okay. I said, but I just felt uneasy about it. But then again, I don't want a gun put on me either.
Here's the thing about a gun. Everybody thinks, well, the gun's going to protect me. Yes and no. The gun can actually hurt you when they take it away from you because you don't know that you're going to be able to use it. And when you go through concealed carry class, that is one of the first questions they asked you. Do you know 100% without a doubt somebody's coming after you? There is no other way. Could you shoot this person? Some people say no. And, that's a good thing. If you know in your gut that you couldn't shoot somebody, because what's going to happen is they're going to take it from you and they're going to shoot you with your own gun, if not pistol whip you.
Now, what about this? I've had this conversation with law enforcement. I personally don't want to own a gun because I know my attitude and temper. People think I'm so quiet and calm, but in a moment of, in that moment,
I'm with you, Q.
I'll probably shoot first and ask questions later. So I don't want to be responsible for harming someone when the situation could have gone differently.
Right.
So should people undergo psych eval as well as a background check when trying to get a gun?
Well, here's the thing. Everybody's psych eval changes.
You're right.
You can buy that gun in, let's just say 1970, you're 30 years old, prime time of your life, everything's going good, and here it is 20 years later, and everything else is turned around, and anyways.
You could have moved into a different environment, and all that. A lot of a lot of people I see with gun problems, a lot of them is the area where you live. You know, some people carry them all the time. I was listening to a lady. She worked at the at the pharmacy. She said, "I don't got my gun in my purse." I said, "You can carry your gun right now?" She said, "Yes, I always keep my gun with me." I work at the pharmacy. They rob pharmacies all the time, but
better be careful at women's purses.
Give them what they want and go ahead on. That's how I feel about it. Give them what they want. Don't argue with them. At least you're here to live and tell about it. I don't like guns. Have one, but just to say, like the woman in California, she said, "Don't pray. I don't need no more prayers. I don't need no more prayers.
Yeah.
We need tougher gun control." Her son, was murdered in that bar,
club.
in that what?
Or the club or bar?
The club. He was murdered in the club. She got on TV and said, "I don't want your prayers. Keep your prayers. Give us gun control." I mean, what I'm saying is, are we sorry? I'm praying for you. I'm praying for you. I'm praying for you. But
what else are we doing?
If we would have controlled that first.
What about the? Oh, I just lost my train of thought. What about the backlash? Should the person who sold him that weapon? How about the family that knew that was what was going to go on? That they knew 100% without a doubt that they had guns, and they knew that he wasn't right, but didn't check on them or whatever. What about the repercussions of that?
Right. I mean, but so many people, it's the afterthought. And because, people, I had put up and all this here, but come on, if they're in the house with the gun, they know where it's at. They know where you put it at. The probably know your combination or know how to get in it or something like that.
Well, see, that's what Andrew did to his grandpa. Him and Mitch robbed him. His grandpa kept gun locks and had a safe. The ammunition was in 3 or 4 different places. I remember being a kid being in his house. I know.
But you knew what the ammunition was. You knew what the gun lock was.
I knew, but I also knew the same way Andrew did. If I messed with that, I got my butt tore up too.
And that's true. Because I was telling somebody yesterday about when I was growing up, when I moved to the South, everybody had a gun rack in their truck.
Because we hunters.
And
That's another thing
gun
I
rack.
do.
I said, "What's that gun for?" They say, "You never know. A deer might run across the road, or a squirrel, or a raccoon." They never said a person. Yeah. It's always an animal. And so, but like I said, we knew not to mess with it. It was right there, or my grandmother had the gun right there at the front door. We knew not to mess with it. We knew, don't take it out the house, don't do this here. But the people today, they can have a gun, they raise up a gun. They, like you said, I heard you say earlier, somebody took a gun to your kid's school. Guns is just, to me, too available. And the parents are not teaching the young kids, don't mess with it.
All right.
Now, we do have means necessary here, in the school districts in Northeast Arkansas that work with the Friends of the NRA, where we do the shooting teams where it's sport and they are taught hands-on safety, gun safety, and when to come to somebody when people know, let's just say a juvenile, something, they got into drugs or something and they were having problems, they know who to report to and they will listen. Now, that's the Friends of the NRA. We get together and have a big banquet. It'll be in February this year. But guns ain't just for protection here in Arkansas. We also use them for hunting. And, I like to skeet shoot, which is, anyways, for sporting and hunting. People use, like, deer burgers. People still live off our wild animals here in town. But that's just it's the evil in our heart. We need to really start looking into our mental health. There's a lot of things that we as a community feel that it's a stigma. You know, a lot of these people, they were fine at 1 minute and then flipped their rocker 2 or 3 days later, but knew that they had problems. Okay. And our mental health in this nation is atrocity.
I mean, and then if you do have a gun legally, it should be so many that you can have. And you know, who need a K9 in their possession? Them are army guns.
Well, let's get a comment from Detective Coleman, who is joining. I know Detective Nathan, he and others try to go around and educate people on the safe use of guns. They have a traveling, I don't know what you call it. Please help me out, Nathan Coleman, with the service that you provide. I think it's through FOP, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
They try to educate individuals on safety, and they give children the opportunity to handle and teach them the right way to use it. So I think it goes back to, we need to have more education. Parents need to start teaching children, if they choose to own a gun in their home, teach them about it, why you should not use it on a person unless it's a situation. I don't know, there just needs to be more education somewhere. Take away the mystery of the gun. Some parents, they get it and they just put it away, don't touch it.
Right.
It's and don't touch it, don't mess with it, but why?
It's like this when I was growing up. Don't do this, don't do this, don't go there. Okay, don't. That tell me to do. You know,
that's what I was about to say. Here, look at here's an Anna.
You know, I would do whatever you tell me don't do. You don't give me no reason why not to. That stove is hot, don't touch it. What hot meat? I went up there and I touched it. Oh, okay. But what I'm saying is teaching them and lead by, like, what did Coleman have to say?
Oh, he said it's an inflatable shootout.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what did he have to say before that?
He said, that's all he said. We would like to hear more, Officer Coleman, if you have time. You can give us a call in the studio, 277-1080. Detective Coleman, I apologize. Marpillo says, ideally, learning gun safety is a bonding event between father and son or other family member. It teaches responsibility.
Well, see, my girls, they know we have guns, but they don't know where they're located at in the house. Now, my ex-husband lives out in the county, and they have weapons as well, and the same way with them. They know they have them, but they just don't know where they're located at. Now, I started teaching Sydney at 5 years old how to shoot her BB gun.
Okay.
Now, that's BBs, but that's still a weapon. And we as a family discuss with our children about, hunting. A lot of people shoot animals just for game, sportsmen, cut your head off and not eat the meat. We raise ours to, if you shoot it, you eat it, you clean it, you kill it, and we eat it. It's not for game. It's not for show.
You shoot it, you eat it, you clean it. No, you shoot it, you clean it, then you eat it.
Okay.
We know what you mean.
But like my grandson, they had BB guns and stuff like that, but his father didn't want them to have it, but they had them. My son brought it for
always with adult supervision.
They was under adult supervision. But one day they want to go out by themselves. And yes, one of them did get shot. Wow. And so he was really upset. Yeah. Y'all know y'all didn't supposed to mess with it, but it's too late. Well, you got to, I don't know, I didn't have guns to play with, BB guns and stuff like that, because my mother said no. But she just said no, but she didn't buy it. So if she would have said no when I had it, I would have used it. I would have played with it. Because growing up, we had slingshot, we had sticks that looked like guns. We did all that.
Honey, I made a rubber band gun that looks like a six-shooter.
But we did not have the actual gun. And our kids are haphazardly shooting themselves or shooting their friends and stuff like that. That's
But a lot of
that's where the control
needs to go back to the parent as well, as leaving it down for where a kid can get a hold of it. One, the kid knowing where it's at, and the availability, that's another thing I don't do, is leave it loaded. That's one of the biggest rules in our house.
But then I understand you said don't leave it loaded, but when something happens, the ammunition over here and the gun over here, and that person's right in front of you.
You don't have to keep one in the chamber. Listen to me. You do not have to keep one in the chamber.
That's what the safety is for.
Well, that's what Mr. Mark said. He says you have those weapons at home. in safe mode. There's a safety mode.
Right.
So maybe the adults that own the guns need to go to the gun range more, go to classes more, learn how to safely operate, or they need to be put in situations where in a setting, in a stressful setting with trained officials, how to quickly put it in and out of safe mode. This is where the adults come in and be responsible. So
Somebody needs to be accountable.
Because let me say this, one day I was at my shop and a guy came in the back, and I was in the back washing hair. He came in the back with a gun, and my customer, some kind of way he got out, but his gun was across the street in his trunk. He had to run across the street, get the gun out the trunk, get the ammunition out the, well, whichever place, where they weren't in the same place. By the time he came back, that person was gone. I said, wow.
all right,
Why you ain't having it on you, having it, ready to go? Like just click the safe mode off and be
See,
ready.
Mine don't have a safety on it.
You don't? It don't?
Well,
It doesn't?
No, it don't.
All
Mine
right.
don't have a safety.
We got a comment from Detective Coleman. He says, I was recently invited to a focus group with UAMS that is focusing on ways to prevent gun injuries in children. The Jonesboro FOP has over 500 children that came to our shoot house this year. We hope to educate children by taking the mystery out of guns and give the parents a way to open dialogue with their children about gun safety.
Yes.
So, and because we've seen stories of 4-year-olds, 2-year-olds getting a hold of a gun, not knowing what they're doing, and they accidentally shoot a sibling or themselves. Again, because the parents are not educating or.
Now, I'll tell you another thing. I'm a fan of them too. I was a fan of them when I was a kid. These the black plastic toy guns.
Oh yeah.
Now, we're going to get ready to come up on a break in about a minute and a half, but I had this conversation with some officers from JPD. How do we keep those plastic guns off the street that look and almost feel like...
But they're supposed to have an orange.
Yeah, but people take
front
that
on.
off.
They
They spray paint it. I mean...
So do we hit the toy makers in our pockets?
You really can't. There's so much we can do. It's all through education.
We
all
can
through
only do what
education,
we can
because
do, and the rest
a
we got
child,
to
a person, if they bad and evil, they're going to do what's in the heart. They're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the best thing is just try to teach them at a young age. And
Cain killed
even
Abel
if
with a
you get-
rock.
Okay.
I'm not going to go with this girl.
David killed Goliath with
With
a
a
rock.
Okay, so we're going to just ban rocks everywhere.
Well, the U.S. military, they train you to use whatever you can. I can turn this stapler into a deadly weapon. I can turn this pen into a deadly weapon. That's
called survival of the fittest.
Survival of the fittest, and it's cold-blooded sometimes.
Yeah.
So Mr. Mark said, and I don't know what, I apologize, I don't know what he was referencing. He said that's a brave thing to run back to danger. He felt an obligation to defend you, to you, because he had the means to. And then he says there's no rights to a toy gun. Well, do we as parents and authority figures need to start educating kids and other parents? And that's probably going to be another topic for another day, but we're going to get ready to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after these announcements.
Education is the key. Education is the key.
All right.
You're listening to our thoughts on the matter on KLEK 102.5 FM. We'll be right back.
Don't sit on it. Your colon and rectum need to be tested for colorectal cancer. Colorectal cancer is the second leading cause of cancer-related deaths in the U.S. for both men and women. It surpasses breast and prostate cancer in mortality and is second only to lung cancer in numbers of deaths. African Americans are disproportionately affected because of our failure to get early screenings. Early detection is absolutely essential, since 90% of these cancers and related deaths are preventable. Colorectal cancer is usually detected through the presence of polyps in the colon or rectum. These growths are often benign but may signal a cancer risk. Even when polyps are cancerous, removing them early saves lives. March is a great time to get tested. I'm Alexis Comer for Black Health Now.
Black Health Now.
Black Health Now is made possible by the Jonesboro Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, a nonprofit organization focused on joy in our sisterhood, power in our voice, and service in our hearts. www.jonesboroalumnidst.org.
Black Health Now is brought to you by the Guide Right Jonesboro Kappa League, a nonprofit organization that guides young men to a life of achievement. Kappa League Jonesboro on Facebook, Jonesboro_Kappa League on Instagram, and JonesboroKappa@gmail.com.
Black Health Now is made possible by CJ Pepper and the staff of Life Strategies Counseling Incorporated, counseling individuals and groups of all ages. 1-866-972-1268. LSCIHelp.com.
From the KLEK Community Calendar, the public is invited to a community Thanksgiving meal Saturday, November 17th from 11 o'clock a.m. to 2 o'clock p.m. at the South Caraway Baptist Church, 3707 South Caraway Road in Jonesboro. A Thanksgiving meal will be provided free. This is sponsored by local businesses.
And now back to our thoughts on the matter on KLEK 102.5 FM.
All right, welcome back to our thoughts on the matter. Again, just me and Amanda, Quabila and Amanda. Brother Cobbs had to step back. All right, so we want to thank Mr. Mark Pillow and Detective Coleman and anyone else who has been watching and sharing their insight. We definitely appreciate your feedback. And Mr. Mark, before winter break, says he left us quite a few more. He says, I don't know, make space use tools. Can you clarify that? He says, one thing to consider is that few countries have the draconian laws that the U.S. has. In other words, things like the 3 strikes law makes our criminals more desperate and they get violent quicker. For that reason, perhaps, ? He says, see the balance. Oops, my feet keeps going. I'm sorry. Okay, see the balance. The property rights of one trump my 2A rights at his door. Okay, maybe.
I don't understand that, Mark. I'm sorry.
Break that one down. Okay, Detective Coleman says, note to parents, if your kid lives in your house, you have every right to search their room.
Yep.
Take away toy guns that have been altered to look like real away from them.
Yep.
Look at your kids' Facebook and Instagram page.
All the time.
Many kids nowadays will post pictures of their guns or drugs. Yes, sir.
Yep, because they silly like that.
Oh, Mark says fighting with rocks makes space use tools. I don't know. Okay.
I guess because it started as a rock and ended up like a space gun, I guess. I don't know.
All right. Well, thank you, Detective Coleman, and for that insight. Yes, parents, you have the responsibility, especially if you pay the rent, mortgage.
Right, no joke.
That child's room and everything in that house is still yours, and you have the right to invade their space whether they like it or not.
And I do it all the time.
Because you never know what's going on in that house, and we've seen many stories of children building pipe bombs and doing
even young kids, as young as my kids. My kids are 9, 7, and 5. You know, even kids as young as my age, I have seen detailed on the internet about getting in trouble, that sort of kind of thing.
Wow.
That's you as a parent, you know. Got to be the watchdog.
Yes, and I'm not trying to make light of the situation, you know. And I use pipe bombs as an example because we have seen that in the news in years past. Kids hoarding guns and other things in their room. Sorry. Because parents are not being vigilant and aware of what's in their child's room. And before you know it, the child is going to school and doing something.
I know a lot of parents who want to be their kids' friend, you know. And at times I'm like, man, I wish I could be the cool mom. But on the other hand, you know, and back in the day when I was growing up, and I wish I had me a cool mom, let me do whatever I want. Well, I'm glad that I did not. I had the mom that was micro-organizing me and wanting to know where I was at every second of the day, what I was doing, who I was talking to. I know it sounds mundane and it's going to tick your kids off, but in the end, that's the best way you can be. I mean, when they hit 30 years old like I did and tell Mama, thank you, I'm so sorry for being me when I was me back when, but we all go through our rebellious ages, but, you know, we as a parent need to step up. You know, we need to listen to our children. We need to pay attention to what our children's attitudes are, their moods, you know, and not just our children, our family members as well. Our husbands, our brothers, our sisters, our cousins, our uncles, nieces, whatever. You know, that they're having a problem. You need to step up and try to help them. Say something. Don't be afraid to say something.
And we need to find a way to handle our emotions and
right.
Or handle situations with disagreements, I guess you can say, without a weapon.
Right.
Find a way to handle arguments without wanting to resort to a weapon. Something that's going to do the most damage versus just using your words or just walking away from the situation.
We need to teach and educate our children. And, you know, I'm still educating my little sister. You know, she's 28 years old, one of them. And, you know, I'm all the time, I even though I carry a weapon, I speak for peace and love because, you know, hate ain't going to get you nowhere. And we need to come together as a community, as family, to be able to sit down and have a discussion without getting violent. We need to be peaceful. And, hey, I have a problem. You have a problem. This is my problem. This is your problem. Well, now we have the problems. So what's the solution? Without talking to one another, there's 4 billion people on this planet. What could we learn and what can we do and what can we accomplish with that many people? And we all are different individuals. You know, good Lord made us all different. Exactly the same, but yet different. You know, for a reason. And we have got to step up as a community and start listening. Even though your opinion don't match mine, doesn't mean my opinion's better than yours and your opinion's better than mine. We just come to a disagreement, and we need to come and be able to talk without violence, without fist fighting, without guns, knives, weapons of any kind, and just be able to sit down at the table and let's talk this out. I know when you're so passionate about something, you know, and it's something that you have worked for so long, you're so passionate and you'll do just about anything to get there. But sometimes a little bit too passionate can get you arrested and rocking that orange. So, you know, but luckily I've never been there, but, but, you know, we just really need to sit down as a community and as a family and be able to talk about these issues. Okay. Because people feel, you know, gun control, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my rights. No. You know, that's one of those things. We don't want to lose our rights that many people have fought and died for, but we do have a problem when it comes to violence in this country. People, and back when I was growing up, everybody wanted to fight with their fist. Yes. But now, instead of bringing your fist to the fist fight, they're bringing shanks and guns to the fist fight. So
yes, and I just want to reiterate again, even though I'm not personally crazy about guns, I don't want to take anyone's rights away to own them. That's your prerogative. I'm not trying to take that away from you. I just personally would love to see more regulation or reform or something happen to where we become
we need
more
better detailed background checks, and the people who do this need to be accounted for this. You know, that's your job.
Yes, people that are in position need to be held more accountable. They need to do their jobs, whatever their job is. Let's help out the law enforcement. They can only do so much. We as citizens have a responsibility as well. You see something, say something. Mr. Mark has another comment. He says, your property rights allow you to say if guns are welcome or not. 2A rights are not absolute. I'm sorry.
Right. And what Mark's saying, as long as this person has a weapon and they're in their own home or their own property, like their vehicle, they can have it. But when you step on somebody else's property, like as in a bank, a school, you know, his neighbor's house, if you say, I do not want this gun here, and he knows he does not want this, he knows that you do not want the gun in his house, your house, then he has to forfeit his gun and take it and go do something with it to get it off your property. Okay. So right, there is laws and regs when it comes to the concealed carry and the Act 746. Now, me, myself, and I don't carry on school grounds. I don't carry in government buildings. I really don't take it into the bank. But, common sense places.
Okay.
So.
All right, so again, this is not a discussion to say, okay, let's take away people's guns, take away their rights. This is a discussion simply to say what can be done going forward. We have had too many mass shootings on school property, on any other properties. Too many people are losing their lives to senseless gun use. We need to learn how to educate our children more. Open the conversation, open this dialogue. As Detective Coben said, take the mystery out of what guns are and what they're used for. And,
we also need, to get into our communities and give the children an outlet other than running with these gangs and stuff, in the bigger towns. We may not necessarily see it so much here in Jonesboro, Arkansas, but in Little Rock and Memphis, you see that, where the kids are bored and they get on the wrong side of the tracks, per se.
Right, so this can be where more community, civic organizations, mentoring organizations to come forward and help these individuals redirect their energy. All right. I want to thank Mr. Mark, Detective Coben, and everyone else that is out there watching and listening. Thank you for tuning in to our thoughts on the matter. With next week being Thanksgiving week, we're going to take next Saturday off. Everyone's going to be enjoying their friends and family. But we'll be back on December 1st. So we don't have the topic set in stone just yet. We'll make sure to get that announced as soon as we get it. I want to thank you, Amanda, for hanging with me.
No problems. And everybody have a happy Thanksgiving. Eat a lot of that turkey.
All right. And don't forget, there are some community dinners going on today. There's one at North Point Baptist Church. There's one at South Caraway Church of Christ. I think I got those mixed up. North Point and South Caraway Church.
Right.
And there may be some other Thanksgiving meals today, and there's some meals going on Wednesday and Thursday of next week. So go to KLEK's Facebook webpage, everything else, and we'll make sure to post that information. Thank you guys, and have a very blessed
Thank you
day.
for listening to our thoughts on the matter on KLEK 102.5 FM, a program offering opinions from all sides of the issues concerning local, state, and national topics of importance to the Jonesboro community. The views expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of KLEK 102.5 FM, the voice of Arkansas Minority